Travis Wayne Goodsill. The Book of Mormon is well understood as being a type and shadow, symbolism, parallel of these latter days. With my extension till the end of August, without being forced out today, the scenarios of Ether and Moroni, son of Mormon, are temporarily off the table, at least for a month. In 2008, when I filed my petition for redress of grievances, I put in there that the economy was on the verge of collapse. And sure enough, the very next month, it collapsed worldwide. And that was a situation that very few people saw it coming. You had to be an expert in the field and recognize the danger signs. So for me to be able to identify it as a postman working at the Draper Post Office at the time, that was quite a feat that the powers that be swept it under the rug to ignore that I had predicted that. This time around, the indicators are blatant, brazen, and right before our eyes. The signs in the heavens have just come out in droves. And we're talking, if you understand astronomy, and you understand how there are rare celestial events that occur in the heavens, to have as many rare occurrences in the heavens as we have had in the heavens this whole time is just beyond wonder, beyond standing all amazed. Now I know that Mormons are waiting for President Nelson, as they were waiting for President Monson, as President Hinckley in 2001 said that the prophecies of Joel had all occurred. They had not. He was a little bit early. But he was attempting to fulfill Isaiah. The mountain of the Lord's house shall be built on the tops of the mountains, and blah, blah, blah. That was supposed to be the conference center, as he had talked about it once. But Von J. Featherstone was the dominant person to promote it for Hinckley. What I'm hoping to get across to everybody, whether you're a Mormon, whether you're an ex-Mormon, or nothing near Mormon, is that whether you believe or not, the signs and the indications are there. I know Mormons have been led to believe that there's going to be a secret mission call to go back to Missouri. That's not supported anywhere in Scripture. That was Joseph Fielding Smith. And then one of the 70 picked it up and didn't reference it in one of his books, referenced it in another book. Or was it somebody else that referenced Joseph Smith and the 70 didn't reference him at all? But yeah, it got perpetuated because it was something outside of Scripture. So Mormons definitely are looking for extra scriptural sources for new information. The video I did about lost scriptures found in the capstone with Moroni time capsule. It was just the Apocrypha contained in the Bible, but Mormons were flocking to that video. I guess there still are. And many, of course, were disappointed when I informed them that it's just the Apocrypha. I have witnessed a number of Mormons who say that we shouldn't be looking for extra biblical, extra quad sources of information. And then there are those who embrace Elder Benson at his BYU talk, devotional, on the fundamentals of the prophet, where he said we dismiss the words of Christ and we dismiss the Book of Mormon because the living prophet is greater than them all. And that's disturbing, as one who was born and raised Mormon, 50 years. I mean, it's not logical, it's not doctrinally correct, it's not even traditional Mormon correctness. As Mormons, if they're going to believe that only the president of the church is the one we listen to, and Benson was not the president of the church when he gave that devotional, then logic would tell us that Mormons shouldn't accept the words of Benson, that Mormons should only listen to the words of the president of the church. I don't know how they justify unsound reasoning. So some scenarios that we have before us from the Book of Mormon now. We have the beginning of the Book of Mormon. We have Lehi, who gets a dream, says you need to leave, they want to kill you. Now these were those of Jerusalem, as he lived in Jerusalem, and they wanted to kill Lehi. And so I can relate to that. I've been preaching to Mormons for 3.5 years. Isn't that interesting? If you haven't read your Revelation, Book of Revelation, you may not catch the symbolism of 3.5. And so that scenario has not happened. I have not had a dream saying, well done for warning Mormons, but they want to kill you, so you need to leave. That precise scenario has not happened. The second one that we encounter is Nephi is now born at the top of the Red Sea. And yes, all Mormons miss that. Watch all videos, whether they're CES videos, whether they're Mormons talking about it from member to leader, whether it's movie versions, even the brand new movie version. They all have Nephi as an adult male leaving Jerusalem with his family 600 years before the coming of the Christ. And if you read your Book of Mormon carefully, there's a name missing. Because Nephi talks in the beginning, but he makes it clear later on, I'm doing abridgment of my father's record, and then I'll get to my record. Mormons miss that. And so, if we were to take it as a history, Nephi would have been at an oldest date of 10 years old, putting on Laban's cloak and pretending to be Laban and fooling Zoram, and able to lift the sword, which were at least 50 pounds back in those days. So a 10-year-old boy lifting a 50-pound sword and smiting off the head of Laban. But yes, it's all symbolic. But at least the part about Mormons being upset with me as one of the prophets warning the Mormons in the capital city area of Utah, they're wanting to kill me has certainly come to pass. That scenario has happened. And so that's followed with Abinadi's version of events, where the type and shadow of Mormons wanted to kill Abinadi, and did kill Abinadi in that instance. And Samuel the Lamanite goes to the capital, whereas Abinadi was in the original capital. The people of Zenith left Zarahemla to go and reclaim their previous promised land, which is the pattern in the Book of Mormon. Go from promised land of Jerusalem, which in and of itself they refer back to Moses, where Egypt was the promised land. And so that traveling from promised land after it's destroyed to promised land after it's destroyed, after destruction, and moving to the next promised land over and over and over and over and over. And so clearly Mormons are fulfilling the part of wickedness. Good job, Mormons. The hearts of men shall wax cold. You did it. Good job. Put a thumbs up on my video to show your cheering joy. And so I think Mormons still believe that Jerusalem is going to be destroyed, and that they think America is not going to be destroyed. even though the scripture from section 45 of the Doctrine and Covenants says that everybody who does not flee to Zion must needs take the sword for survival. I don't think Mormons actually think, is it North and South America Zion? Is it America Zion? Or is it just the city of Zion, which has yet to be built? Because I hate to tell you this, it's not Utah. There is violence in here, Utah. So when we read in the Doctrine and Covenants, from verse 16 of section 1, that Mormons will walk in their own way. Because Mormons are the only ones who have sealed upon them the everlasting covenant. And only those who have had it sealed upon them can break it. If people have not had it sealed upon them, it cannot be broken because they never had it in the first place. So verse 15, they is referring to Mormons. They strayed from mine ordinances. They have broken mine everlasting covenant. That can only be Mormons. And it's Joseph Smith talking about it here, way back near the beginning of the organization. And so it's Mormons who are going to be in the future, after Joseph Smith, walking in their own way. And we see that with Mormons' interpretation, or misinterpretation rather, of Moroni chapter 10 verses 4 and 5, as they have replaced the word of the Spirit as fruit, instead of calling it the seed that they then have to plant and produce the fruit, the physical fruit, not spiritual fruit. And so yes, Mormons again fulfill prophecy, if you can call it that, of all of the wicked religious people hating the prophets who tell them that they've got their doctrine wrong and they're committing crimes and sins and they're not stopping and they're not listening, that destruction is coming. And so it talks about these own belief systems that Mormons have, and they shall perish in Babylon, even Babylon the Great, which shall fall. So not only will Mormons' belief systems fall and perish, Babylon itself shall also fall. What then is Babylon? Because Babylon already fell. This is coded messaging here. It was not decoded by the church service missionaries for the 1981 version of the triple. And when you understand, oh, it's Mormons, therefore it's the split of both America, not Jerusalem, and the Mormon church, not Jews. It's not complicated. And it is if you think of Babylon in the sense of still existing, or some metaphysical, spiritual enlightenment that has no basis in reality. But that's not the case. And so when you go over the Book of Mormon and you learn that it's a type and shadow, a parallel symbolism of the latter days, where is the opening scene? Babylon comes into Jerusalem and puts their puppet king on the throne of Jerusalem. So has anybody been looking for that type and shadow here in America? Have we been looking for a puppet king to be placed on the throne of America? I do recall one president not too long ago, I think it was the 2016 election, where everybody was talking about, and political cartoonists were drawing pictures about how that presidential winner, if you want to call it a winner, was put on the throne by Putin. And so everybody called this president the Puppet King. And so, is that the case? Does this presidential candidate from 2016 fulfill all the other prophecies of that portion of the latter-day signs and things and events to look for? The answer is yes. John in Revelation 13 talks about the mark of the beast in the forehead. What does that president's followers wear over their forehead? The mark of the beast. MAGA. And of course, they fulfill prophecy by getting angry at anybody who dares tell them that they're fulfilling prophecy of evil. It's like people just don't care. They get offended, they turn it back on other people to blame them for being evil when they're pointing out that, hey, destruction is coming, guys. So, some other scenarios that are coming are section 103, that a man among my people, Mormon, a Mormon man, mortal, will come and have an Exodus type event parallel with the story of Moses. So it's not just the Book of Mormon, it's all of Scripture, are parallels of the latter days. And so the Moses one seems to be still in the running. This is where destruction befalls Egypt. The coronavirus being the final knockout punch as Pharaoh's successor to the throne, which is both government and religion, dies from coronavirus, and there is no heir to the throne, and thus the dynasty ends. And so in our context today, we don't have the firstborn birthright blessing son take over the religion or the government of the United States, the religion of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. But yet we have the coronavirus. And the pharaohs have been saying no to giving up the throne of religion and of government, as they've been placing stricter burdens on the people, jeopardizing their health, jeopardizing their lives, their liberties, and their properties. So that part's come true. And that's the one I fear is coming. Is that because of the final no reply, so that the church and Trump, because for Trump it was the impeachment hearing, the Senate Republicans said no, we will not remove him from office. And for the church it was a lawsuit where the Mormon judge conflicted in the situation, refused to recuse himself and sided with the Mormon church, when the church had lost multiple times in multiple ways. And so we're witnessing as both government and religion leaders are killing the people with coronavirus. And as Nephi slew Laman because of the commandment in Deuteronomy that when a false accuser suggests a punishment for you, that the punishment instead will be applied to the false accuser. So, yeah, the Church and United States of America are prophesied to be destroyed. Both the government and the religion. Now those who are evil are under the impression and the plan to rise from the ashes with what's the white supremacist term for it? The pure, the elite. The master race. Those who survive the coronavirus, those who survive the economic collapse, those who remained loyal to the doctrines of Lucifer. They think they're going to take over and establish a new world order. That's their plans. But it's also prophesied that the man like Moses, for the Jews, he's called the Christ. They use the word Messiah instead. Joseph Smith was more in line with the Jewish version, which came from Egyptian. So, of course, Mormons fulfill prophecy by despising me for saying, hey, Mormonism is Egyptian, not Christian. So that's what I fear. And yet I hope it happens before the end of the month. But it's going to be horrible either way. Because like I said, after my petition in 2008, which was in August, the very next month, it happened with full vengeance. And here we are again. Filed a petition, and this one is more blatantly obvious. And so I don't think we're going to need to wait another month from today.